Hello guys, this is Ricky. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to do a little tutorial, and this is going to be the first of a couple that I'll do in the upcoming weeks. And it's just going to be, they're just going to be little tutorials talking about different aspects of the game that we specifically what we've been talking about and how it applies to us with regards to the system that we play. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to talk about today is playing out from the back, specifically why I talk about and why I ask you to go through central areas. So I'm just going to talk about why we talk about it, why I want you to do it, how we can do it, and the benefits of doing so. Okay. So just a quick one really. So I'm going to specifically talk about two things today. Number one is if we play through central areas more often, we can get our wide players on the ball higher up the field. And number two is how going through central areas, in my opinion, is not as restrictive to our options with regards to options for the individual person on the ball and the options, the passing options and support options to be able to keep possession of the ball. Okay, so number one. Okay, so what happens normally is, so if our defender's got the ball here, we're too inclined to always want to do this, to do that one out there. Okay. Okay, and what happens is our wide players are receiving the ball lower down the field, whereas I'd prefer them if they can get on the ball higher up the field. And that's not really going to happen if we just go directly down the line. Whereas if we went into midfield and had some kind of build-up of possession through the middle, excuse me, for example, then it's going to push the opposition back, and we can hopefully get our wide players on the ball higher up the field, as opposed to going out wide directly from our defenders when we do play it from the back, and our wide players receiving the ball here rather than receiving the ball there. I think that would be more beneficial for us from an attacking point of view. So that's one reason why. It's to try and get our midfielders, our wide players in particular, get them on the ball higher up the field. Now, that's not to say that our wide players can receive the ball there. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just giving you the reasons why I ask you to do it. Going wide, there's a time and place, of course, and it's not to say that we can go out wide here and then we can also go back into the middle, and then we can then get our wide players higher up the field that way. But it's about going centrally at some point to then go out wide, rather than, because I think what happens sometimes, or a lot of the time, if we go out wide here, then we look to continue down there, and it doesn't work as well than if we did some kind of build up in possession here to then go out wide higher up the field. So hopefully that makes sense. So that's number one. Next thing was how I talked about how I think it can be a bit restrictive. How we can be going out wide can be more restrictive with regards to the options that we're going to have on the ball. And the reason for that is, now this is an important factor for me, and it's not talked about enough in my opinion, And I think it just it gets neglected, or people just don't really think about it and not aware of it. Okay, so if this white player gets the ball here, now you're on. It might sound obvious, but you're only allowed to stay on the field. So you can only play on the field. So this white player is playing in a 180-degree angle. So it becomes predictable, and from a defensive point of view, the defender can then show him down the line, and he can get isolated, and it becomes more difficult to get out, and we can end up getting stuck in possession and end up just conceding possession. So I just feel like options are restricted when we are out wide. And what you see a lot of the time is people do end up trying to turn and go down the line this way, and they end up going off the field or just not under control, and just end up losing possession. Okay, I'm going to add one more thing to this, a way of combating this happening. And this is specifically aimed to our wide players. I think the wider you get, then you can adjust your, because what happens is a lot of times our wide players receive the ball and they are facing this way. So a defender is directly behind them, and that becomes very difficult to get out of that situation, especially with the restricted options of going that way, of not being able to go that way rather. Whereas if our wide players receive the ball with an open body shape and they are facing more in here, if they can receive the ball facing that way, then it will allow them to go that way more. So that is an easier way to combat the restricted options available when you are out wide. Okay. Now let's compare that to central areas. And one of the reasons why I do ask you to go to central areas. If these players receive the ball, so I've got 180-degree angle here. Now you know what I'm going to say here now. These can go in a 360-degree angle. They can go wherever they want. So they are not restricted to where they go, and it becomes a lot harder to defend against. Whereas if you're defending out wide, the defender can push you towards the outside and use the line as a second defender. They really can't do that there. They might push you out wide, but you've still got lots of space here. If the defender's that side, you can turn in here. And also, what you need to be aware of when you do go into the middle, this person is supported with regards to its passing options. So basically what I was talking about then was his first touch can go anywhere. Go anywhere, depending on the position of the defender near him, but he's not restricted to where he can go. And then when he does receive the ball, in the middle of the field, you've got passing options everywhere. So you could go there, you could go in there, you could go there, you could go back if you need to. You could then go out wide. You could play through balls to the forward. So you've got more passing options. Whereas if you are out wide, you might have a passing option behind the ball there. Central midfield could come across, forward, but you've got less passing options than you would have in the middle of the field. So hopefully that makes sense. So just to summarise, so we've talked about going through central areas and the reasons why I would like you to do it. And this video is it's just meant to serve as an additional learning tool, basically. And you can look at it any time. Hopefully you view it and you can look at it any time, and it's just meant to reinforce the message that you've been getting at practice and you've been getting on games, and it just gives you something to look at and more of a visual aid. So, okay, so we talked about going through central areas and why. So the first thing was try and get our wingers high up the field rather than passing. So it's talking about playing it from the back and then going centrally. It's not going centrally all the time. So we've talked about getting our wingers higher up the field, hopefully, as opposed to them receiving the ball here, going through central areas to get them higher up the field here, and then they can attack from there. And also we've talked about how when you're in central areas, your options are not as restricted to where you can go, and you should have more passing options on the ball, whether that's forwards, backwards, sideways, or to the side, or wherever, as opposed to here where you're working in a 180-degree angle. So hopefully that makes sense. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask me. I'll probably, if you feel like I've missed anything, let me know. But thank you for watching.